did it! I did it. I really did it. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, everything in between and neither. I did it. I finished all 3 Mass Effect games on Insanity. And I'm actually kind of speechless right now because I never thought I would accomplish that. Like, I'm gonna get into that a little later, but there are some missions that I have struggled on, even on narrative difficulty, and that's the easiest there is. And now I actually accomplished that, and I do have to say that I'm kinda proud of myself for doing that. And so I'm gonna gather some thoughts, and then we can jump into the video where I'll be talking a little bit more about my journey through the 3 games on Insanity difficulty. And yeah, before we get into that part of the video, as always, feel free to follow me on my social media on Instagram and Twitter at CommanderNici, just like my channel name, and see you in the next section of the video. So, first of all, I gotta say and admit, it was a lot easier than I expected. Which sounds pretty pretentious, but there's some missions that I sometimes even struggled on in narrative difficulty. Horizon in Mass Effect 2, for example. Like, that's rough when you fight the first Praetorian you meet in the game, and all the husks come at you from everywhere, and the science shoot at you with their gross goo stuff that blows you out of cover, and Harbinger with the energy attacks that also just blow you out of cover, and you're vulnerable for like until you can scramble back behind cover, and it's frustrating. And even on easier difficulties. So yes, I'm gonna get into that later when I talk about the specific games, but I just thought some parts would be insanely difficult. Well, maybe that's where the name of the difficulty setting comes from, when you think about it that way. But the thing is, I thought it would be hard, and I thought I would abandon this project. I thought that I would give up, but I didn't. I did it. I actually did that. I got all 3 insanity difficulty trophies. I'm amazed. As I said in the intro, I'm speechless. And what this insanity difficulty run showed me was maybe I should just try at least some harder difficulties for some games, because I managed it. Sure, I failed a lot. I didn't count because that would have been frustrating. But what I think actually got me to consider trying this insanity run is Hades, because that game is all about trying and failing and trying again, and Hades kind of introduced me to that concept without feeling frustrated about it. So I got a little bit softened up to the feeling of trying over and over and over again in a game, and it was fun. It was great. This insanity run, maybe along with the podcasts I listened to while I did that, but this insanity run gave me a newfound appreciation and love for this game. I don't know if it was some internal stuff in me that made me feel so much more for the characters in this round than like the previous, where I just tried some stuff. I got emotional about characters I haven't gotten emotional about before. For example, Ashley. For once, it really did hurt to leave her behind on Wormire. Maybe the Ashley case especially has to do with podcasts, but her, or in the end of Mass Effect 3, when I said goodbye to Javik, which I didn't take on any missions at all. When I looked at his character summary, I didn't level up a single skill of his. He was all in his bay in the hangar area of the Normandy the whole time, sulking over his weird water thing. But when it came to saying goodbye to Javik on Earth, I actually teared up, even though I didn't care much about Javik before. And when I said goodbye to Jacob on the comms on Earth, I kind of teared up a little too, even though Jacob is like one of the worst characters there is, and the writers really did him dirty, especially since he's black. Like, wow, way to screw up one character. Like, if you make an unlikable dude, at least make him white, so you know what I mean. But I suddenly found a new appreciation for characters and and everything. And speaking of the characters, for the first time ever, well, maybe not exactly for the first time ever, but I actually went and played the game as intended. I chose my squad based on their skills that I knew I would need in the mission. Like, if it was against synthetics, I would take whoever had skills for that. If I would go against humans or biotics or whatever, I would choose characters for my squad with the fitting skills to fight them, to help me fight them. And it actually felt kind of weird to choose the characters based on their skill than on who I like the best or who is the best, like with dialogue or something. For example, if you take Tally on any mission involving the Geth, it gets a lot more interesting. Or, I don't know, let's say other characters really do have something interesting to say based on the environment and everything. And also, you do sometimes have your favorite squad members, which you then, if you play it like that, can't take with you because they are useless in what are you going to face next. Like, I can't bring Garrus on a mission fighting collectors. Unfortunately, he is useless there. And I needed all their powers because I picked a soldier. Because I did some research before I started this Insanity run, and while I looked up kinda advice and tips, the most common consensus that I found for the Insanity one, which class to pick, was the soldier. I guess it is because of all the weapons you can have. Like, I think that would help to have everything in the Normandy's arsenal available to you to fire at everything. Especially in the later games, or like, I think especially in Mass Effect 2, where your weapon choices were restricted by your class. So as a Vanguard, which I usually play, there would have only been, I think, a submachine gun and a shotgun for me, and that's not much, really. So picking a soldier probably was the best idea, and it worked. I finished the game as a soldier. I did pick the default male shepherd, which actually is canonically a soldier, so but I picked the good old stale bred white shepherd to just not feel as attached to the character if it came to abandoning the project. Like, I didn't pick default male shap on purpose exactly. I just wanted to get over with character creation real quick so I wouldn't stretch out the process of getting into the game. Like, normally I spend like a good while on the character creator, and I just wanted to start the project, and picking a default male shap was the best solution. The most parts that were hard for me, I noticed, were because of the way they were either narratively built or were what happened in the story when the moment happened. For example, well, I'm gonna get into that later, as I said, when I talk about the specific games, but I finally figured out what the problem with the hard missions is. And it's not necessarily just that the missions in itself are hard. No, it's the circumstances. I think with the trilogy finished, I think next we should go to Andromeda. I think I want to try to finish Andromeda on Insanity too. I already finished 3 Mass Effect games. How about a 4th? So yeah, those were my general thoughts on the project. Let's jump into Mass Effect 1. Mass Effect 1 was probably what got me thinking that I actually might be able to pull off the whole project, because it was relatively easy, but I think that's because the first Mass Effect was probably more of a straight third-person shooter than any of the other games. I think it just worked better like that, playing as a soldier, just relying on powers of the squad mates for backup. The weapon modifications, especially the ammo modifications, later were insane good. Like, just put up the high explosive ammo in the gun and just counter everything with a heat dampening as much as you can, so you get all the possible shots in before the weapon overheats because of the ammo, and it turned into a piece of a cake, almost. Obviously working towards having that good equipment took a while, and it was a lot of constant replacing of ammo and mods and weapons. Whenever I found something better than what I had before, I switched it out. I sold everything I didn't need, which is something I probably have never done in some other playthroughs of the first Mass Effect. Like, I still remember that once when I played the first Mass Effect, I didn't even figure out how to put on the Praetorian gas upgrade for the grenades, as therefore I failed saving those colonists, which I still feel kinda ashamed about. But I managed, even on Insanity, I managed to save all those colonists. I knocked them out with the grenades. Everything was fine. Everyone was saved. It was good. It was fun. I relied a lot on adrenaline rush to slow down time, get a shot in, and go back into cover. And fortunately enough, most of the time the enemies just came from one direction, so it was really easy to just stay in cover, pop out, get a shot and go back into cover, and that's basically how I played the entire game. Shoot, cover, shoot, repeat. What was hard was the fight against the Taurian and all the fights against Saren. I played it probably a bit too randomly, so I didn't have enough Paragon points to get Saren to off himself so I had to fight him twice, which was, to be honest, pretty hard, as it should be on Insanity. Who am I kidding? But that's it. The only thing that I actually remember being hard was the fights against Saren. Of course, there were some levels where I just struggled and reloaded a lot. For example, when you go and pick up Liara from that ruin. The fight against that Geth Colossus? That's rough, and I knew it would be rough because that's something I struggled on, even on narrative mode. But maybe I also struggled on narrative mode because I wasn't taking it all too serious, because most of the enemies I could just kill with like 2 shots or something. So I probably was never careful enough. But on Insanity the stakes are up so high and the battles feel real tough, and you just have to think about every shot and every movement, every tiny little bit of cover and changing cover. Everything was just so calculated, and I think that is what made it really fun. Like, as I said, maybe Hades softened me up to the whole concept of trying again whenever I fail, because I don't know, I think I was maybe a little bit too used to the comfort of playing games on easy. And I actually do think that I will change that up in the future. I actually do think that was all for Mass Effect 1. So let's move on to Mass Effect 2. So when I started up Mass Effect 2, everything that I have experienced before with Mass Effect 1 changed. While I thought Mass Effect 1 was, comparatively to my expectations, a piece of cake, well, Mass Effect 2 actually do make me struggle. Even starting on the first mission. Okay, getting out of the Lazarus Project station was relatively easy, as it should be for a tutorial mission. But oh boy, when I got to Freedom's Progress. And I couldn't even rely on Miranda for her overload, because all of the squad mates in Shepard weren't leveled up enough to actually do some damage with the powers. So all that tactics of using squadmate powers to back me as a puny little soldier up, I had to rethink. And oh boy, oh no, it was so goddamn frustrating. I want to be honest. I almost thought I would abandon the project on Freedom's Progress. So, the first, more or less, actual mission. Well, depending on how you count, since Freedom's Progress is also still like some kind of tutorial, and I think the real game really does start after Freedom's Progress, because then you get some freedom to explore and pick whatever path you want, which mission you do first, all stuff like that. So that makes it a little bit unfortunate that I almost abandoned the project on Freedom's Progress. Another moment where I almost abandoned the project was on Horizon, and that was something I knew I would struggle with, because that's something I have struggled with in probably almost all, if not actually all, my previous playthroughs on narrative or casual. So, like the two easiest settings there are to play the game, I struggled with Horizon, especially like with the last fight. But experiencing it on Insanity and actually getting through that fight. Not to mention that I maybe cheated a little and took out at least one Scion from before the doors closed behind me with like well-placed rounds of shockwaves and rocket launcher. But hey, if it works, and if it's still in the game and not patched out, is it really cheating? Because one thing I planned and wanted to try actually didn't work, because for example on the Reaper IFF, I more often than once in playthroughs on easier modes just ran. I ran forward until the next autosave point, and if I got killed there, it wouldn't matter, because the enemies behind me were assumed to be dead, because hey, I reached that checkpoint. Obviously, the enemies should be dead, right? Well, they weren't. But the game thought it would be, so I was safe. I thought if things went sideways, I thought that tactic would work too. It didn't. So I actually did have to fight my way through all those enemies on the Reaper IFF, on the collector ship. Everywhere that I have used the little nice, maybe cheating trick of just running towards the next autosave point, that was gone. I had to actually fight. But hey, I managed. I got through those parts of the game that I feared so much even before starting the whole Insanity run. I knew that that was something I would struggle with. And I did. So it was no big surprise when the struggle came. What was a surprise is that the Emir Max suddenly, maybe because of my equipment and the adrenaline rush, which slowed down time so much, especially on how I skilled it in Mass Effect 2, suddenly became a lot easier. Well, comparatively, of course. Like, I got Garrus and Miranda to pull down the shields, then Miranda's warp to weaken the armor, and then one well-timed headshot with the Widow or any other sniper with the adrenaline rush. And it got that little nuclear explosion which takes out a lot of enemies in the surrounding. Well, also the squad mates if you're unlucky. But what's Unity for? Which I used a lot. Oh my god, I used Unity so often. I think I've never used Unity that much before. Like, I think before I never really cared if the squad mate was down because I would usually just make it to the next autosave point without them and then they would have been revived anyway, so it was a little bit like the health potions problem in RPGs. Like, you don't use them because you might need them later and then later never comes. I think it was something like that before, but on the Insanity run I used Unity so much. If it was an actual key on a keyboard, if I had played it on PC, the paint probably would have rubbed off from using Unity so much. Then there's something that I kinda, I'm almost a little bit disappointed with. I thought the fight against the Human Reaper would be harder on Insanity. Like, I think I just needed, and as I said, I didn't try to count how many times I failed, but if I remember correctly, I only needed like 4 tries or something to get the Human Reaper down, which is like not much. You'd think such a giant thing would be hard to fight, but it wasn't. Saren was much tougher. The whole fight on Horizon was so much tougher as I expected, but that's the thing. On Horizon I hadn't had the right equipment yet. That's the problem with Horizon. I have noticed that all the struggle I always had with Horizon wasn't really because of how the mission is built and the enemies. Of course, it's also like the enemy attacks that pull you out of cover, but it's the equipment. I really think it's the equipment. And then, like in the last fight, with all the weapons you acquired over the game, the right armor set, everything, suddenly it becomes not as hard, even on Insanity. And after the fight with the Human Reaper and blowing up the collector base as it should be, fuck the elusive man, I played Arrival. I didn't need to, because I already got the trophy. I could have played Arrival before the collector base, but I think it makes more sense to play it afterwards, because it leads up directly to the events of the beginning of Mass Effect 3. And I considered skipping Arrival, because I knew I would have to go in alone and be on my own against all the troops on that asteroid. And it was hard and horrible, but I actually managed. What I also actually managed was one of the Firewalker DLC missions, which I have always, maybe just once, I think before that Insanity run, I maybe finished that mission once, and then otherwise abandoned it altogether, because the Hammerhead sucks. It has sucky shields. It's not good. I hate that vehicle. But that one Firewalker DLC mission that I've always struggled with, even on easy mode, I managed to finish it on Insanity. And that's something I'm also extremely proud of. I know it's probably a little bit dumb to be proud of video game accomplishments, but I can't help it. It's really something I'm proud of, because I never thought I would do this. I always said, oh hey, I play games on easy because I want them to be fun, and life is hard enough, so why struggle with video games? I know, imagine myself like with that one Shiba Inu meme with the one big thing being like, I finished all 3 Mass Effect games on Insanity, and then the tiny little cryy one being like, I like to play games on easy because life is hard enough, and why I don't want to struggle with video games. Thank you. Please don't hurt me. I gotta make that a meme. I gotta find a template and pull the put the text on that. Follow me on Twitter if you want to see that meme. At CommanderNici, just like my channel name. You know the drill. But yeah, and then I finished Arrival, and my Mass Effect 2 journey was done. I finished all the missions. Maybe I left out like 1 or 2 emergency probe sensor things that I didn't think would be necessary, just the main missions and the DLC pack stuff. And yeah, that was my Mass Effect 2 journey. It was a lot harder than Mass Effect 1. Like, the rise was the rise in difficulty was extremely steep. Like, whew. Like, on Mass Effect 2, I actually thought at some points that I would stop the project. But I didn't. And I continued on to Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 is when things became fun, I think. Because, I don't know, the armor of the squad mates could be changed to fit your needs. For example, weapon damage, power damage, all kind of stuff. You had the weapons level up system back, you had the weapon mods back. So you could put everything together as you needed, which was so helpful. put all the high damage stuff on, take the highest damage guns, fuck low capacity and low fire rate, because I don't need a high fire rate if I'm in cover all the time anyways. So, with that said, Mass Effect 3. It was great. Unfortunately, Adrenaline Rush sucks a lot in this game. It isn't as good as it was in Mass Effect 2, which is really, really, really sad. I could have used it so much. But hey, at least I had my squad mates to back me up. From the beginning on, I had 2 squad mates with shields. Overlord, I mean. To deal with the Marauders' shields. Which is going to be fun to talk about later. So it was fun, and then I hit Grissom Academy, and that was the horizon of Mass Effect 3, if you ask me. Like, that's probably the part I struggled with the most. Fighting the Cerberus troops in the atrium with the Atlas mech in the background and all the combat engineers putting up their turrets, and then the Guardians with their shields coming up, and I didn't have the piercing mods yet for the guns. It was a real struggle, and that's probably part why I changed my combat strategy of the equipment to high damage. Because if I'm staying in cover all that time and so often and so much, I don't need shields much. Of course, in any upgrades where shields would be the better option, I picked them, but I went a high damage route. I picked my armor based on whatever would give me more weapons damage. I picked the high damage weapons. I picked the high damage weapon mods. Also piercing mods to get through the Guardian's shields. And it helped. As soon as I acquired the credits to buy the better mods and stuff and the upgrades, it became really easy. But as easy as Insanity gets. Grissom Academy was real tough. The other missions were just like regular hard as you would expect on Insanity. I think there's probably 1 or 2 missions where I maybe just died like once or twice through the entire mission, and not just like 5 times on one checkpoint as with some other missions. It was really fun. What wasn't fun was the last push. Wow. Marauder Shields on Insanity is a real tough SOB. Wow. I think I tried it like 8 times or 9, maybe 10. I needed 10 tries, maybe, probably, to get through Marauder Shields. And I mean, I call that guy Marauder Shields, like that dumb meme that celebrates this enemy like a hero for saying, oh, he tried to protect us from the ending. Yes, I mean, I get it. It's probably a little bit upsetting that Mass Effect 3 didn't have a real boss fight. Maybe you could count Kai Lang as the boss fight of Mass Effect 3, but it wasn't. While it was kinda hard, I still needed like only 3 tries or 4 to get through Kai Lang, and based on what you know about him and what you can read in the novels, the fight should have been tougher. Like, Kai Lang is some kinda Super Saiyajin guy who trained in like more heavy gravity to go get stronger, you know, like I think Son Goku did. I never watched Dragon Ball. That's just something I kinda grabbed out of thin air, what I heard somewhere once before. Maybe, I don't know. If you like Dragon Ball, maybe let me know if I'm right, if Son Goku did that high gravity training. I do know that Kai Lang did that high gravity training from the novels, which you should check out, which I think would be a great candidate for a Mass Effect TV series. So if the producers out there are for some reason watching this, you know what you have to do. But back to the talk about Mass Effect 3. So, as I said, I changed a lot of combat strategy to high damage. I don't need shields if I'm in cover. I did have the defense matrix to get the shields back in emergency situations, but that was it. I had all my squad mates skilled on doing as much damage as possible with their powers, especially Overlord, which I needed the most for the Marauders and the Centurions, and the rest just resolved itself with the weapons, which are really good in Mass Effect 3. It's just a lot of fun. Like, I think Mass Effect 3 has the most fun combat, with grabbing the enemies from behind cover and punching them dead and everything. It's just so flashy and so much action. It's fun and great. And on Insanity, it was exciting, it was tense, it was fun. The stakes really did feel high, as they should be for the grand finale. I'm a big supporter of the idea that the entire third game is the ending. I really do like to see the Mass Effect Trilogy as one big game, because just the way it's built, like, you have like the introduction, like, hey, the Reapers are coming. And then you have like the middle part where you build a team and do more research on the topic, and then you have the big fight. Like, it just makes sense to see it as one story and not make a huge difference between the 3 games. I mean, obviously Mass Effect 2 is the best, but Mass Effect 3 has like the best bits, like the squad banter and that the squad mates moved on a Normandy, and suddenly I'm not talking about my Insanity run anymore, which I should come back to. So excuse me this little walk around the flower field. I just needed to gush a bit about the trilogy, because as I said in the intro, I just found a new appreciation for the series. That was there before, of course, but I think with the Insanity one it just got like even bigger and more exciting. So, can we just talk about that the beginning of the Citadel DLC sucks? I mean, yes, of course, falling through the fish tank is fun. But you do realize that Shepard doesn't have their weapons and armor anymore. And if you're playing a soldier, you're probably pretty lost too, because you don't have any powers to back you up. All that equipment you worked for before through the entire game, because let's be real, most people play the Citadel DLC right before they hit Chrono Station. And it was so fucking hard. I didn't know it would be that hard fighting through all those goons with just that dumb suppressor gun which only had like the first upgrade part, which made it weak as fuck against the goons. And I was so glad that when I later was joined by Liara and Rex, that I at least had some backup that made me struggle a lot less. But they also had the wrong power set. I needed someone with overload. Then there was the fight through the archives, which was fun. That was cool, totally fun, nice. But the fight against the clone. It was so hard. I don't know how many tries I needed to defeat the clone. I just know that I, at one point, got so frustrated that I closed the game for a while, played some Skyrim, slept the night over it, played some more Skyrim, and then went back and tried to fight the clone again. And then after a few more tries, I finally managed to defeat the clone. That, not gonna lie, was probably... yes? I think it was the hardest fight in the entire trilogy. Fighting the clone on Insanity. That was hard. Even with the good equipment. And then we have Marauder shields. As I said. That was tough. On Insanity, fighting against Marauder shields is hard. You don't have your powers that you could use. You don't have any squad mates that could help you with the shields and any other stuff. You can just go. And then there's the aiming. The aiming is so inaccurate because Shepard is so damaged from that laser beam from the Reaper. And then the gun you have is also really shitty. Like, if I had my fully, to level 5, upgraded Talon gun with the piercing mod and the high damage mod, Marauder shields would have been down in 2 shots without even hitting me once. Which is a problem, because 2 or 3 hits by Marauder shields on Insanity and you're done. You gotta retry. Also, did you know that the husks that ran at you, if you don't finish them before they don't get to you, actually do kill you with 1 hit? Like, they stand pretty still. And that's just to give you time to shoot at them at close range. They do not attack you. They don't stay still forever. 1 husk punch on Insanity in that section, it's 1 hit. And then obviously, like, after you beat Marauder shields, not much happens. You have the final talking confrontation, and I think it would have been fun to fight like some kind of husk elusive man thing, because like he did get those implants, just like Saren did. Can you hear the hail? I think that's my cue to end this video, because I don't want the weather to disturb recording the video. It's really distracting. I'm sorry if you can hear that. So yeah, those were my thoughts on Mass Effect 3, and that concludes the series. So, what's next in my gaming journey? Well, actually, I wanted to go and tackle Ghost of Tsushima. I even still have it sealed to open it up just when I finish the 3 games on Insanity. It's still sealed, listen to that. But now that the remasters of Life is Strange are so close, I think I'm gonna go and just relax a little bit, play some Skyrim, maybe explore some caves in Minecraft, and then I'll wait to look into the remasters of Life is Strange, and I think after that I will tackle Ghost of Tsushima. I'm really excited to try out this game. Who knows, maybe I'll be so excited about it that I will do another video on that game. I'm not sure yet, only the future will be able to tell. And yeah, so that was my video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did. Comment down below what are your accomplishments in gaming that you're proud of. Anything special, beating games on a certain difficulty, like Mass Effect for example, or just getting through a very difficult game in general, like a Souls-like or something. Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and feel free to follow me on my social media on Instagram and Twitter at CommanderNici, just like my channel name. And until I figured out what I can upload next, watch my other stuff. Bye.